go back to one of our breaking news stories now. eNCA has confirmed that former Correctional Services Commissioner Linda Mtee is among those arrested. You'll remember Mtee was implicated as one of the Correctional Services officials who helped secure Bosasa tenders. Well, the revelations were made by former Bosasa COO Angelo Agrizzi. Reporter Erin Bates has more on this story now, and she joins us live. Erin, good morning to you. Talk to us about who are the other names. The understanding is that 5 are arrested. Is Linda Mtee part of these?
Yes, according to 3 independent sources who've spoken to eNCA, Linda Mtee, the former Correctional Services Commissioner, is among those accused and apprehended by the Hawks. We also understand, and I have had independent confirmation, that Angelo Agrizzi, the former COO of Bosasa, is among those who are set to appear here at the Commercial Crimes Court in Pretoria later today. We understand that they are in the process of being processed at a police facility, a station. It's not clear which one, although we understand it is in the Pretoria area, and this all relates to contracts between the Department of Correctional Services and Bosasa. Of course, Agrizzi testifying on those contracts and on cash bribes. He says the company was paying to the likes of Linda Mtee as well as Patrick Gillingham, who was the CFO of Correctional Services. Now, it is quite possible that Gillingham may too be among the list of accused because he received kickbacks on the allegations and testimony at the Zondo Commission, including vehicles for family members and a home when he was working in the Correctional Services Department.
Erin, earlier I spoke to the spokesperson of the Hawks, Hangwani Mlaudzi, who said that initially there were 8 warrants of arrest. So out of these 8, 5 are arrested. The 2 who are outstanding, because the one person is deceased. Perhaps let's start with the deceased. Do you have any idea who that person is who has since died?
Not at this point, Kholi, and I think we need to be wary of too much speculation until the accused appear in court. Of course, there also is an argument on why we're naming people who have not yet pleaded, this being in the public interest, considering the severity of the allegations against the like of Agrizzi, Linda Mtee and Patrick Gillingham, and also the fact that this matter, the alleged corruption involving Bosasa and Correctional Services, a government department, has been in the public domain since Agrizzi took the stand at the Zondo Commission. But what we do know from the testimony at that commission, Kholi, is that a man named Daddy Mansell, who was involved in senior operations at Bosasa, was effectively exiled to the United States. He wanted out of Bosasa and was instructed to leave South Africa to go to the United States, and was allegedly per month for quote-unquote work for Bosasa while he was in that country. So it is possible that at least Mansell may be among the accused who are still in foreign jurisdictions, and there we could need the assistance of foreign authorities.
Erin, just finally, talk to us about if indeed speculation is correct that Angelo Agrizzi may be among those who have now been arrested by the police. Talk to us about what happens to his fishing trip to Italy.
Yes, well, it may have to be put on ice for now, although it is quite possible the accused could appear in court briefly and be granted bail pending their next court appearance. It does also bear some light, or could relate to the question around possible immunity for Agrizzi under Section 204 of the Criminal Procedures Act, and whether or not he is or has been in negotiations with the National Prosecuting Authority over securing that kind of immunity. But it is possible, and we will have to get clarity from people with more understanding of the legal process, that despite negotiations around that possible, and I emphasize possible, immunity, he still has to go through the usual process of being charged and appearing in court to plead.
All right, Erin Bates at the Pretoria Commercial Crimes Court awaiting the appearance of... all right, I think Erin Bates has actually just hinted that we need to stand by. I wonder if we're able to go back there. Erin Bates, if you can still hear me, talk to me about what it is that you are seeing at this stage. All right, that picture is frozen there, but I suspect that, okay, well, it does appear that the picture is still on. Let's just have a look there. Let's just remind you what has happened in the last hour. So basically the Hawks announcing that 5 people have been arrested, and that's in connection with the Bosasa contracts that were given to the company by Correctional Services. Erin Bates, if you can hear me, talk to me about some of these people that are possibly appearing on our cameras.
Yes, Boli, at the moment there's just a little bit of movement at a door leading to a corridor next to 2 of the courts at the Commercial Crimes Court in Pretoria. That's the Specialised Commercial Crimes Court here, where we're anticipating several people charged in connection with alleged corruption between Bosasa and the Department of Correctional Services are due to appear today. There was a flurry of activity, seemingly in anticipation of the accused entrance through that gate you see and that doorway. We understand that former Correctional Services Commissioner Linda T, as well as Angelo Agrizzi, the former COO of Bosasa, are among the accused. And from the information I have from a number of sources at the moment, most of the accused we expect to appear in court today are seniors, formerly with the company now known as African Global Operations, which was known as Bosasa.
Well, Erin, as I speak to you now, some of the faces that are appearing on camera, I've just seen Hangwane Mulaudzi. There he is. Perhaps we can catch a word with him. It does appear that he is with his colleagues there. Any faces that you can recognize or that you possibly have recognized behind that door? Talk to us about those faces, Erin, because just looking at some of them, as we did try earlier, I can't say I recognize any of the faces, particularly the people who are wearing suits there. Linda Mti, I definitely know his face, so I will point him out to you as and when he appears, if indeed he's among those. But any of the faces that you've recognized so far? All right, it does appear that, okay, we've got that picture again. Sorry, Erin Bates, we interrupted you there. Your picture keeps freezing. And of course, our viewers, we do apologize for this breakage in transmission, but I'm sure you'll understand this is a live situation we are dealing with. So it's a live transmission, I should say. Erin, just go ahead and speak if you've recognized any faces there.
Yes, well, as you've mentioned, the spokesperson, Brigadier Hangwane Mulaudzi of the Hawks, they have issued a statement on these arrests, not naming any of those who have been apprehended and, as we understand, are currently being processed. But that media statement speaks in quite strong words, Pauli, about these arrests linked to Bosasa contracts with the Department of Correctional Services, saying, for example, that these are sweeping high-profile arrests following a marathon investigation. Now, we know that the SIU report on alleged corruption involving Bosasa and Correctional Services was filed almost a decade ago. In 2009, the SIU recommended to the National Prosecuting Authority that they issue charges against Mti, Gillingham, Angelo Agrizzi and CEO Gavin Watson. Now, the various names that have been floating around and are not yet confirmed on the accused who are facing charges of fraud and corruption in connection with those contracts does not, on the information I have at present, include Gavin Watson. But the very reason we're so squarely focused on this door at the moment, with all of the people who don't want to be seen because they're not the accused, is because until we see the faces of these several people linked to Bosasa and its contracts with correctional services, we don't really know for certain who will be facing the charges and the music.
Well, Erin, in anticipation of possibly seeing someone that we recognize, that perhaps let's talk about the criticism that has been leveled against law enforcement as to why they have not arrested anyone since the SIU report was brought out, which SIU report now is actually the subject of that state capture inquiry. Is it possible that the law enforcement is acting now as it is based on some of what is coming out of the state capture inquiry?
Certainly, and of course we must remember the political context here. We're just a few days away from the State of the Nation address. Our president has been subject to political pressure from foreign countries regarding taking action against corruption. And Xoli, I do have information here on who the people are in this case. It's the state against the following people, confirmed now via documentary evidence: Linda Mtee, Patrick Gillingham, Angelo Agrizzi, Andries van Tonder, who also testified at the Commission of Inquiry to State Capture, and then 3 companies who our viewers will also know from those proceedings: African Global Operations, formerly known as Bosasa, Sondolo IT, an IT subsidiary of that company, and then Pezulu Fencing. That is now confirmed information on the accused, who are expected to appear here today, including 3 companies under the Bosasa umbrella.
Surely those companies, Erin, have got to have an individual representing them, or does the law recognize entities as accused?
Yes, well, these would be jurisdictive persons, I think is the term, although some lawyers may be wincing at my pronunciation there. But it is very possible that these companies appear as accused. We know, for example, in the Estina matter, that Gupta-linked companies appeared as legal persons facing charges in those cases, which had a rather sort of unfortunate end, if you like. And, you know, it is very possible that we may see some of the representatives from the likes of African Global Operations when down the line this matter goes to trial. But we're at the very sort of opening gates of any prosecution over these corrupt or allegedly corrupt contracts. A first appearance is likely to be brief. The accused will face their charges and then likely apply for some form of bail.
Well, it does appear now, Erin Bates, that you're saying this is based on documentary evidence that you have in front of you. So let's just remind the viewers again. Linda Mtee, you're saying he's among those who are now arrested by the police. What was his position at Correctional Services?
Yes, Linda Mtee was the Commissioner of Correctional Services, who is accused of receiving a number of benefits through Bosasa and Bosasa-linked subsidiary companies. Angelo Agrizzi and another accused in this matter, Andries van Tonder, testifying on those matters. Mtee, for example, receiving funds towards a house at Savannah Hills, which is a high-security complex in Midrand. The allegation and testimony from the likes of Agrizzi is that he had the home built to his personal specifications, and that he was also sort of privy or sort of the beneficiary of cash payments on a monthly basis while he was in Correctional Services and at the very top of Correctional Services as the Commissioner. So very significant allegations against Mtee. Of course, we mustn't forget the CFO, Patrick Gillingham, not a face many people will recognize. He's rather scarce in the public domain, but Gillingham was the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer of Correctional Services, and on the testimony we've heard at the Zondo Commission, received a fleet of cars for himself and family members, and also had cash benefits from Bosasa for, on the allegations, helping the company out with getting lucrative correctional services contracts. And
Erin, let's just remind the viewers again of the role that was played by Andries van Tonder. What was his position at Bosasa, now of course African Global Operations?
Yes, so Andries van Tonder was the CFO of Bosasa, Angelo Agrizzi being the COO, Chief Operating Officer, before things soured profoundly and he broke away from that company. And importantly, just to say, Xoli, on the SIU report, the allegations or claims from the Bosasa side were that the report was politically motivated, that it was imbued with racism, and on the testimony we've heard at the Zondo Commission, Agrizzi claims that Bosasa officials, including CEO Gavin Watson, were having meetings with the likes of Dudu Myeni in order to gain advice, also getting information from Linda Mtee on how to approach prosecution or critique of that SIU report. So basically getting crib notes from people within the National Prosecuting Authority on how to tackle the report and its recommendations in order to try and, scupper any prosecution that could derive from it more than 8 years, 9 years ago now.
All right, Erin Bates, I am going to give you a breather, but just finally, talk to us, give us the other names of individuals that appear there, or are these three names that we've spoken about so far, Linda Mti, Patrick Gillingham, Andries van Tonder, are those at least the warm bodies that appear on that documentary evidence you have in front of you?
Here are the names of the accused according to the documentation I have on the matter between the state and the accused linked to correctional services contracts with Bosasa. Linda Mti, former Commissioner of Correctional Services. Patrick Gillingham, former Chief Financial Officer of Correctional Services. Angelo Agrizzi, former COO of Bosasa. Andries van Tonder, former CFO of Bosasa. African Global Operations, the company formerly known as Bosasa, and then two of its subsidiaries, Sondolo IT and Fezulu Fencing.
That's my colleague, Erin Bates, coming to us live from inside the court, I should say, or should we say the building of the Commercial Crimes Court in Pretoria. She's given you a detail of the individuals expected to appear before that court. This in relation to the Bosasa contracts that were awarded to that company by correctional services officials, which is why these people who are named by Erin Bates, among them were former correctional services officials. Let's remind you of the stories making headlines at this hour now. Victory for former ANC Northwest Chairperson Supra Maumapilo as the court rules the disbanded PEC has to be reinstated. Former Correctional Services Commissioner Linda Mti is among the 5 people arrested in connection with Bosasa contracts. 5 of them, as we have been mentioning, are appearing at the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court in Pretoria today. And Gauteng's new police commissioner, Elias Mawela, is introduced today officially by the Minister of Police, Bheki Cele. All right, for the time being, let's take a quick breather. You're watching eNCA now. We'll give you more stories right after this.